Afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the WISD Board of Trustee meeting today on 12/12. In addition to the quorum of the board that is physically present this evening, Trustee Debbie Timmerman will be participating in tonight's meeting via video conference as allowed by Section 551.127 of Texas Government Code. Ms. Timmerman's participation via video conference will include her ability to see and hear the meeting along with the ability of the trustees to see and hear her. The minutes for tonight's meeting will reflect Ms. Timmerman's presence for all the times she is able to participate fully via video conference. The minutes will reflect her absence during portions of the meeting, if any, she is unable to fully participate via video conference. I'll also add that President Autry should be joining us shortly.
Yes, sir. He said toward the end of closed session.
Towards the end of closed session.
Yes, sir.
So, with that being said, we are going to convene to closed session at 5:01, and we'll be back.
Yes, sir.
Now 5:45, we're going to reconvene back into open session. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Schofield to lead us in our invocation, followed by Aubrey Featherston and Ty Featherston with our pledges of allegiance.
Shall we pray? Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather, support our community, try to continue your works here. Please be with all our faculty and students, families during this holiday season. Let's remember what it's truly about. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Which one are you going to do first? Okay. How do you start?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then what do?
The Texas flag.
So how do we start that one?
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Yeah, can we come take your picture?
Jed?
Our vision is to be a district where innovation thrives and growth is limitless.
We value choices because they make us unique and are critical to learning.
We value a collaborative culture that honors and supports all who positively impact the lives of our students.
We value an environment of belonging that respects individual differences and ensures equality for all.
We value relationships that broaden learning experiences and enrich our community.
Okay, we're a little ahead of schedule this evening, so we're going to go out of order for a couple of items. We're going to go down to item 5, which is our open forum. At this time, we did not have anyone signed up to speak, so we're going to move to item 6, which is our reports. Our first report will be our superintendent's report. Dr. Hollingsworth, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stephen, is there any way you can skip ahead to the superintendent's report without me scrolling through 60 of those? That'd be great. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right. As I do each month, Board and Mr. President, we have our monthly enrollment and average daily attendance for the 22-23 school year. That green line there at the top indicates our enrollment. We ended November, on November 30th, with 10,838 young people, pre-K through 12. But you can see that our average daily attendance took a hard hit, mainly due to flu and a variety of other illnesses. That has been a real thing. It has impacted us on every single campus, and it has been a real struggle. So you can see our attendance is at 92.54. My message to all families and to everyone that can hear my voice, please, oh please, if they're well, send them, because we need them each and every day. I also wanted to share with y'all information related to our campus and departmental rounds. As part of our process of continuous improvement, what we do on a regular basis is, and this is my third semester finishing up in Waxahachie ISD, and each semester we've gone out in some kind of collaborative fashion to listen to our staff, listen to our employees as a campus and departmentally. And so I wanted to show you what we did. I sent this to y'all, but I wanted to share this with the public. These are themes that we heard as we were out on all 16 campuses, we heard themes about, hey, what should we start doing? We asked our folks, what should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What are some things we should keep on doing because they're working really well? And then we just asked for their feedback generally. Among the things we should start doing, employees said we need to identify a consistent approach for early childhood ELAR instruction. Some of our teachers talked about how on different campuses that the approach for ELAR instruction varies. And so you can see over there to the right, we've formed a pre-K through second grade ELAR guiding coalition with representation from each grade level so that we can work on that very thing. I'm not going to read them all to you. I wanted to show you a couple others. Refine the special education referral process with greater consistency. So when a student is referred for special education, what we found is that from campus to campus, there could be some variation. And so one of the things we've done is we kind of audited our process with our special education department, reviewed our policies, our procedures, and to look for consistent practices. And we found that there were inconsistencies. And so our special education administration has developed a peer-researched, centralized special ed referral process, okay? What should we stop doing? This is a real one that we heard a lot of feedback on early in the process. Stop charging for personal appliances. They said that's not one that really feels like we're honoring and supporting staff, and so we brought to y'all in October. We altered our policy to allow for what we call limited common sense use of personal appliances. So those are some of the things I just wanted to share with y'all. We do listen in a systematic way to the things that our staff tell us. And then you can see over to the right, there are very specific actions that we're taking as a result. Okay? And then the last thing I wanted to share today on my report is I wanted to give a shout out to a lot of folks who made this happen. We had our historic Waxahachie Christmas tour of homes, and we were part of that. We were one of the homes on the tour, and had several hundred folks, some in the community, some not in the community, that just come in to visit Waxahachie, who came through a number of our historic homes. And I wanted to just say thank you, and I'm going to call out these folks individually. Jenny Bridges, our entire PR team, including Sandy King, Amy Troll, Nicole Turner, and Joan Penny, did a phenomenal job in helping us get ready for our public. Stephen Mott, Andy Reeves, Geronimo Swaste, our amazing maintenance team, our custodial crew, just did a phenomenal job, a ton of work to get us ready for that. And then Historic Waxahachie Incorporated, they're a great friend to our district. I'm very thankful to them. Our campus PTOs, our parent-teacher organizations, they worked on the individual trees. There was a tree from every campus that was decorated by each campus, and then countless volunteers, including our WISD students and staff. So if y'all don't mind, let's give them all a big round of applause. I was afraid of this. Okay, who'd we leave out? I know it.
Our art teachers on our campuses coordinated students making ornaments.
Yes.
They delivered them, and then also our WHS choir came to sing both days.
Yeah.
I sincerely apologize for that oversight.
No worries. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Our art students, our art teachers on each campus helping to create those ornaments, and then our WHS choir. Really, really grateful to all of them. So let's give them a hand. No, that's fine. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Any questions for Dr. Hollingsworth? Okay, we're going to go to report C, information report on WISD health insurance offered to employees. Mr. Calden?
Hey, Stephen, can you skip ahead to the report C, informational report on WISD health insurance? Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Hollingsworth. You remember about a year ago, I was up here and making a recommendation that we drop our alternative health insurance program and stick with TRS Active Care and I told you that we'd keep looking at it every year as we keep going. Well, we did an RFP this summer and for an insurance broker to kind of help us with that, review our claims histories, and give us a recommendation on whether it'd be better for the district to leave TRS Active Care and offer our own insurance or stay with the Active Care program. So tonight I have Mr. Eric Smith of Smith and Consultants, or Smith and Associates, sorry, Consulting, who was awarded that contract from the RFP, and he's looked at our claims, and he just kind of wants to tell you a little bit about the process and where we're going. And our recommendation for this year would be, again, to stick with TRS Active Care. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smith and let him kind of work through all the work that was done on that.
Dr. Hollingsworth, members of the board, good evening. Nice to be here. Before I get too far into this, I have the privilege of talking about insurance a lot, which means occasionally I slip into insurance-ese. If I do that, please stop me. I want to make sure we're clear in answering all your questions. I've also been told I talk fast, so I'll try to tone that down a little bit too. As we get started, I want to give you a quick overview in history of active care. Prior to 2020-21 plan year, once you got into active care, you could never get out. At that point in time in 21 and 22, two school districts that started this, El Paso and Raymondsville down the valley, found a way to, through the District of Innovation, to offer an alternative health plan. You could not get out of active care at that time, but you could offer a plan to beside it. You went ahead and did that a year ago for a plan that ended in August of this year, and then this last year you went back to active care. In the last session, the legislature passed Bill 1444, which allows districts to opt out of active care. There's several steps that have to be done to that. You must decide by December 31st. So if you were to opt out for next September, you would have to take action now, notify them by December 31st, and then when you're out for your 5 years. So once you leave, you're out for 5 years. If the district leaves and come back, conversely, based on the current legislature, you have to come back in for 5 years. What active care has tried to stop is people bouncing in and out when they're healthy going out, when you're sick coming back, trying to stretch it out, which makes financial sense for them to do that. During this summer, the state of Texas gave active care. This says $750 million. That was updated today at a meeting. It was actually about $650 million. The state gave them money to offset the rate increase for this year. It was taken out of state and federal funds for ESSER. That did limit the rate increase, and it also allowed them to do regional rates. Previously, before this year, everybody in the state of Texas that was in active care paid the same rate. Didn't matter if you're on, depending on what plan you're on. So every employee from Houston to San Antonio to Austin paid the same rate for the HD plan, the primary plan, or the primary plus. They went ahead and did regional rates because health care costs differently across the state of Texas. So it allowed, actually Region 20 in San Antonio has some of the cheapest rates in the states now because cost of health care there happens to be a little cheaper. So unfortunately, where we're at up here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Regions 10, 11 have some of the higher rates because cost of health care up here is more expensive. But they did go ahead and do regional rates to try to even out the funding across the state. What we did, your district requested your data. Part of 1444, which was a good thing, let me back up, they mandated that TRS give school districts data. So you could look at your data so you could be able to shop your insurance. Previously, if you were under 1,000 employees, you could not get your data, which made it very difficult for you to get competitive quotes. They were keeping it. They wouldn't let people get out. Legislature, which one of the smarter decisions they made, said, folks, we got to get your data. If you're going to want to get out, you have to know what you're doing. So your district got your data. It encompassed 3 years of claims. We merged your data from your alternative plan with it to get the data that's on the screen. Unfortunately, your district has had what we call a loss ratio greater than 100%. Your claims and expenses have exceeded your premiums. Even when we put your alternative plan in there, it was a significant amount of money. TRS has, the other districts in the state, like all insurance, has subsidized Waxahachie ISD for the last 3 years. On average, it's about $1.3 million. Last year was the 3-year total was just north of $4 million. So even if I tried to take out your large claims as, what we call shot claims, one-time things that would go in and out, even when I took that out, your loss ratio was still significantly higher. Your claims were higher than your premiums. So that being said, when we looked at it, I was like, it doesn't look like a good idea for you guys to get out. We did ask Cigna and Aetna to give us a quote. They looked at your data and says, no, we can't be competitive. So if we're not going to be competitive, no reason for us to issue a quote. So unfortunately, with where your rates are at, and it does not look good. So there's recommendation to stay as in your best interest right now, because your premiums would go up. Based on your last 12 months of data, if I would have set your premiums, this is what they would be right now. You see, employee only in the HD plan would be $591 versus what we're projecting TRS to be, which is a 7% increase. Year over year, that's kind of what they've done. That's kind of what, even all summer long, they've been saying the increase is going to be more than that potentially, but we were conservative and said 7%. So across the board, you'll see your rates are about 25% higher than what active care would be if I looked at you just on a one-year basis. If I look at you on a 3-year history, you're still 15% higher across the board. If we tried to spread that over the 3 years to say, you don't want to take your worst year, let's look at you over your long-term history. But even with that, right now, your rates would be higher than what we're projecting active care to be. Now, that's the caveat of I use 7%. Just recently at both TASA and TASPA, TRS has said more than that, high double digits, 20 to 25%. I don't think it's going to be that high. The legislature will give them some money like they have in the past, but potentially the rate increase could go up. But we use their average they've done for the last couple of years. That was the fairest way for us to do this comparative-wise. Consistently, they've gone up 7%. So in our comparison, that's what we did. So based on your history, now, does that mean you're going to be this way next year? No, it doesn't. Healthcare is cyclical. You have folks that access a lot of healthcare that could potentially leave your plan or something else. Your rates could come drastically down. So I would recommend you continue to look at it, because if it is cheaper for you in the future, worrying about that 5 years, because that's always very scary, what can happen in 5 years. But as you continue to grow, you get larger, you can help spread that risk across a larger population. Continue to look at it as a smart decision as far as we're concerned from our recommendation. I looked at 100 school districts this year, and of that, only about 15 are going to leave active care that we looked at. There's more of them across the state, but that's the numbers we looked at from a data standpoint. About 15 are in the process of opting out in their board meetings or notifying TRS right now. That is my presentation. I was told I had 5 to 7 minutes, and I think I did a little less than that, but I do wanted to give you guys a chance to ask questions over the data or the process we went through to study your data and make a recommendation. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, back to the previous slide. So on the right-hand side, you're saying that the legislature is going to give money, and so maybe the fees are going to go down? Is that projected?
I don't think those are going to go down. That's what those numbers are an average. TRS has given a 7% increase on average the last few years, so we use 7% here. I actually think it's going to be a little higher than that, but not much higher than that.
Okay. I mean, I guess I don't understand. So you think that you don't think that this estimated TRS rates are correct?
Listen, we were trying to be conservative of using an estimate of what they've done previously, not knowing exactly what they were going to do for the legislative session, how much money they were going to get, everything else. So we used the same increase that they've averaged for the last 5 or 6 years at 7%. So that shows a 7% increase over the current cost. The right-hand column does.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Smith? Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, we're going to go back up to item number 4, recognitions. Ms. Bridges, I believe we have several recognitions tonight.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. Yes, we do have a number of recognitions this evening. I think I say it every month, but these kids and our staff members just keep doing really great stuff that we need to recognize. So excited to have them here this evening. I'd first like to invite Greg Reed to come up. Oh, hi. Coach Reed has 3 recognitions this evening.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. So we're going to start off. It's been another great fall. We're excited to have another large group in here to introduce to everyone again tonight. We're going to start off with Coach Dela Cruz and girls cross country.
Welcome everybody tonight. Nice to be here. I just want to talk a little bit about Emily's year this year. She ran a PR of 1854.8 this year, or a season record, putting her 3rd all-time in junior school history, which puts her, she's also number 1 as a freshman, number 2 as a sophomore, number 1 as a sophomore, and number 3 as a junior. And currently number 2 all-time in school history. She placed 20th at the 6A Region 2 Championship. She qualified for the state championship. She's a 3-time state qualifier, and God willing, next year she'll be a 4th time, which will be the first time in school history. And this year she's the first team all district and runner of the year for Waxahachie. So she's had an amazing career so far. And this year she had a lot of tough things going on that a lot of people don't know about. And one of the things I loved about it was that she pushed through. She never backed down. And, which is something we always ask from our kids in leadership. So thank you.
That, as you can see on the graphic, this is her third time in here because that was her third trip to the state cross-country meet. So we're really proud of her.
And it's her third year in high school.
And it's, yes, she's only an 11th grader. So the conditions that day were just miserable. It rained the entire time. I think it broke just as the race started. But about the time they got halfway through it, it picked back up again. So we're really proud of Emily's effort. Okay, so next we're going to recognize the Waxahachie Indian volleyball team, who I think I heard the comment said recently by someone that the ladies that are entering the room right now were not even born when the playoff streak started. And that's not just this year. That can go back several years. So tonight I'm going to have Coach Fawcett. She's standing next to me, our girls athletic coordinator and head volleyball coach, to come up, introduce these girls, and talk about the season.
First of all, thank you so much for recognizing us. I'm so proud of this team. I want to introduce the coaching staff real quick. Behind me, if you guys would step forward, please. Erica Weber came from, is this on?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, sorry. I've gone, yeah, I'm not used to this fancy stuff. I'm used to being in the gym. Erica Weber, associate head coach. She does a great job. She came to us from Midlothian and just brings so much to the program. Come on up here, guys. Lindsay, Gonzalez, I just want to call her by her maiden name because I coached her when she had her maiden name, but a varsity assistant coach, also out on maternity leave a majority of the season, but came back in time for the playoffs. That's perfect timing. And then Bridget Melton, who is our JV coach, also does a great job. And then Abby Evans, her first year was with our freshmen this year. Okay, real quick, I'm going to introduce these guys and then tell you a little bit about what they accomplished this season. Okay, I'm going by positions. Our DSs this year, Abby Fuller, Brendan Ramirez, Allie Jowers. Just give it a wave, guys. Our middle blockers were Tiana Owens, Savannah Johnson, Kayla Brown, and Kennedy Haynes. Our setters, Taylor Cavazos, Maddie Fuller, Emma Borders. Our pin hitters, that includes the left and right side, Amber Morgan, Mia Sanchez, Miggy Bernal, Macy Murphy, Hannah Morgan, and Georgie Horn. And our program assistants were Kasia Chapman and Lala Johnson. So some of them had to work or had club practice, but this is what this team accomplished this year. They were 40-11 overall, an outstanding season. They were undefeated district champs. They went through a 23-game win streak and were ranked as high as number 10 in the state by TGCA. They went 4 rounds in the playoffs, making it to the regional tournament for the 11th time in the past 20, I don't know how long I've been here, 21 years. Just an outstanding job. But this is the first time we've made it in 6A, and it's a huge accomplishment because the game's so much different at the 6A level. We had 16 academic all-district players. We had 8 players that were superlative first team, second team, or honorable mention all-district players. We had 5 TGCA academic all-state players. That's Amber Morgan, Wave, elite team, number 1 in her class. Taylor Cavazos was first team. Maddie Fuller and Kayla Brown were second team, and Abby Fuller was honorable mention. And one thing I have to say about this team is, and I could not ask for a more dedicated, committed, hardworking, pleasant, wonderful attitudes than what we had this season. In a word, it was extremely fun coaching them because they came with a great attitude every day, and they accomplished so much more than some people thought they could. But as we watched them go through the season and go through practices, we saw how much they cared for each other. We saw how willing they were to work for each other, and I hope they made you very proud because they did. They so much made us proud. So way to represent WHS in this community. We are extremely proud of you. So if you guys will give them a round of applause. Great job.
get your pins, if y'all will kind of get in for a picture. I know y'all are used to doing your little squat and all that stuff, so.
Hey, I got to say one more thing real quick. School board, thank you for your support. Greg Reed, thank you for being an awesome athletic director. Tanya Harris, you're an amazing principal. And Dr. H, you made this happen and you let me coach another year. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Now, for this next group, it may be a good thing Mr. Rogers doesn't work for the Waxahachie Fire Department yet, because we may be over the limit.
All right, I think are we back on? Okay, I think all we're missing is the smoke and the banner. We could have ran through here one last time. So moving right into football, if you haven't kept up, as we've come into 6A and started this fall, our region is extremely difficult athletically, as much as it is everything. Coach Fawcett was up here. The final game was against the Woodlands. They went on to play for in the state tournament that next weekend. Turned the page of the newspaper this morning, and you saw where we were in our district as we're seeing two representatives from 11 6A getting ready to play for the state championship. This is a relevant group of men, and it's led by a relevant group of coaches. And I'm going to have Coach Tollison come up and talk about his team in this season this year.
I was given this job February the 11th of 2021, and I think I was introduced to these guys the next day, that Friday. And I asked them three things we've got to do if we're going to move this thing in the right directions. Number one, you got to give me time, and I'm going to give you time. You know, when you build relationships, it's all about time, and you build it that way. Number two is communicate. Hey, tell me what's going on with you. I'll be up front. I'll be honest. We got to communicate. In every marriage, every great marriage, we got to communicate. And the third thing was a lot of love. And this team right here that's standing before you did all three of those things, and they did it well. And the result of that was a lot of good things. I want to point a couple of them out. Number one, you're looking at the 6A Division I area champions, okay? This is the 6A Division I by-district champions. You know, coming into 6A, making a move, they've won the most 6A games in program history, being in the division of 6A. Most wins in program history, 8 wins in a regular season. They haven't done that here in 11 years. That was a big thing for them, understanding the standard of winning and running it the right way. Most important, the 287 sign is back in Waxahachie. And it was the biggest margin of victory that the Ennis Lions took from the Waxahachie Indians in over 2 decades. Over 2 decades. Yes. And I want to say of all those things, and I understand we're not satisfied. I appreciate the board of trustees, Dr. Hollingsworth, Coach Reed, for allowing us to come and do this. This is an honor. But I'll tell you what I'm more proud of. You've got a bunch of young men right here that love Waxahachie. They do. And when we lose, we knew we hurt more than just ourselves because of that fan base. We turned around. We knew who was behind us. And when with the teams that we played, and I told them we hit them, they ain't going to just feel us. They're going to feel the weight of the city behind us because of every single one of you guys that are behind us every single Friday night. In the road games, we knew. We couldn't tell who was the home team, who was the away team because of the support of Waxahachie. It's like no other. And we're just at all with that. We appreciate it. And just honored to be here, and I'm honored to be their football coach.
We're very proud of you boys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. All right. It is so nice to see that many young men turn out to be recognized this evening. Next, I'd like to invite Sean Cagle to come up, and we're going to recognize our marching band.
We don't have the whole band.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
The whole band? Good evening, Board, Dr. Hollingsworth, Cabinet. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We would like to recognize the Spirit of Waxahachie Band on the wonderful marching season that they have had. The students, directors, staff, and parent volunteers put in countless hours starting back in April of this year. It takes this kind of commitment of hundreds of individuals over many months to create the show that took them all the way to the state 6A UIL State Marching Band Finals. And with 249 6A schools in Texas and only 42 going to state, they are among some of the most elite bands in the state of Texas. Right here? Yes. With us tonight, we have Brianna Padron, Leah Gonzalez, and Owen Bartosh, our drum majors. Also, directors Rich Armstrong, Justin Bell, and Reggie Armstrong. We would also like to, Reggie Cook. Reggie Cook, thank you so much. I was doing so well. I think we'd also like to recognize other individuals that helped the band throughout this wonderful season: Brandon Cummings, Denise Armstrong, Roman Montoya, Nicole Butler, Ben Cato, Felipe Hernandez, Kate Trowbridge, Emma Cook, Corbin Sullivan, our student teacher, and Miguel Pimental, also student teacher. Thank you all so much for representing our community so well and your great success. Rich?
For next this evening, I'd like to invite Tori Banda from Felty Elementary to come up. Hi, Miss Banda. Now, Miss Banda thinks that she's here tonight as part of the Grow Your Own program, and that is actually not totally true.
Oh, okay.
I had one of our trustees send me an email talking about Miss Banda and the impact that she makes at Felty Elementary School every day. Miss Banda is always smiling, always waving, always greeting every child by name. Her energy is infectious. The kids love her, and she is part of the Grow Your Own program, and she recently passed both of her tests to become a certified teacher. So we are proud of Ms. Banda. She is part of what makes Waxahachie ISD great, and we just want to recognize her for that. So, yes, ma'am. All right. Board, next I'd like to invite Linda Solis to come up. As you know, Ms. Solis is our Director of Bilingual Education, and Ms. Solis recently received an award from her alma mater, and we all think this is maybe the best picture of her ever taken. We love this picture. But you look great. You've earned it. Ms. Solis recently received the Best Award, Baptist Educator Serving Texas, from her alma mater, the University of Mary Hardin Baylor. This award recognizes the value and positive contributions that Texas Baptist universities are making to public school systems in Texas, and we are so proud of the impact that Ms. Solis makes across our district every day. Please join me in giving her a round of applause. Board, finally this evening, until I hand it over to our principals, I would like to give a special recognition to our own Monica James. Each year, the Texas Association of School Personnel Administrators, or TASPA, gives one person their Distinguished Service Award. Those nominated for the award must have at least 10 years experience in HR, possess leadership ability, demonstrate a high degree of personal and professional integrity, demonstrate a high level of involvement with TASPA, and possess solid skills and understanding in matters pertaining to human resource and personnel administration. I am excited to announce that our own Monica James was given TASPA's Distinguished Service Award last week. Please join me in giving her a round of applause, and go ahead and come up here. Board, I'd like to turn it over now to Darla Wilson, principal of Simpson Elementary.
Our Simpson Strong staff member is nominated each month by their peers on campus. Here are a few things that were said about this month's nomination. Dinah is all about student growth, whether she is pulling groups for intervention, subbing in a classroom, filling a huge need with our littles, those are kinder people. She is consistently working towards student growth and achievement. Dinah always does everything with a smile. She has a great attitude and has taken on huge additional responsibilities without any complaining, or none that we've heard anyway. She loves her students and wants them to succeed. Dinah helps students in every grade level grow by pulling small groups and intervention. She will step in anywhere and everywhere she is needed. Someone said, I really feel like some days we wouldn't make it without her. She shows kindness every day and always helps out in whatever capacity she is asked, and we're so lucky to have her. So congratulations to this month's Simpson Strong staff member, Dinah Davila. I'm excited to share some of the great things that have been happening at Simpson Elementary. We are working hard to be a campus where innovation thrives and growth is limitless. Of course, the word growth in our vision statement is referring to student growth. Our main focus and goal at Simpson is to make sure that every student grows academically. This is a huge and challenging task, especially on a campus that continues to grow in so many other ways each day. At Simpson, we strive to learn about our students and their strengths and weaknesses. Our grade level PLC times have been implemented this year and are dedicated to this task, learning about our students and how we can help them grow. We are also growing our sense of community on campus by starting each day with our dudes at the door. We have multiple entrances with a smiling face there to greet our students each morning. This is our first year to have this group, and we have loved seeing what a positive impact this group can have, even in just a few minutes every day. We continue to grow in the area of fine arts. Our fine arts team does a great job in the monthly programs that each grade level presents. The evening performances are usually packed with family and friends who come to support the students. Any evening event is a great way for families to come together to celebrate student achievements. Each year, we're continuing to grow our theater program as well. Each week, all students get to spend time in our very own Black Box Theater, where they are learning all of the various aspects of acting and also of being a good audience. It's amazing to see what the kids can do when put on a stage, even at such a young age. Another way we're growing as a family on campus is the addition of a few student groups this year. We've added a flag crew this year. They raise and lower our flags each day and are leaders on campus. This group has been such a huge help, and we appreciate them so much. Miss Dodd, our art teacher, started an art club this year. She was overwhelmed with the amount of applications showing interest in the club, so she has a really big art club, which is a great problem to have. These kids share a love and interest in the visual arts and have already done some really great projects. Our recycling club continues to grow, and they're a huge help on campus. These students work before school, gathering every class's recycling items and taking them to the recycling bins. The Simpson Strong Squad is a group of 5th grade leaders who work with our counselor, Ms. Johnson. They do many service projects and do multiple jobs on campus, from buddy tutoring our kinder students each morning, greeting students in the hallway, and helping in the office. Anytime we need anything on campus, this is the go-to group of leaders. These are just a few examples of ways we are growing as a Simpson family. Building relationships with our students, families, and community are extremely important at Simpson, and we feel this is where all true growth begins. Thank y'all.
For next this evening, I'd like to invite Dr. Al Binskin to come up.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Hollingsworth. I am here to present Al what we affectionately call the 212 Award for Miss Lori Hanna. We know at 211 degrees, water is hot. At 212, it boils. It's the that one extra degree that makes a difference. And that's what Miss Hanna does for us at Alternative Learning. She pushes students in the right way to make them excel, fill in the gaps where they need to. She's one of those people that definitely sees a big picture, but also focuses on the details. She is an outstanding staff member. We are lucky to have her. And I can say we did acquire her from Simpson Elementary, so thank you. But again, she's an outstanding, she pushes those students to make sure that we get all that we can out of them, and make sure that they understand that they can get all they need through their education there at Alternative Learning. Ms. Hanna. And we also have a campus highlight for you, but instead of me speaking about that, we're just going to show you a short video that kind of highlights some things. If you haven't already heard, Dr. Hollingsworth has started doing a little bit called What's Happening Hatchie, so please have at it.
The very first one was about your campus.
What's happening, Hatchie? One of our core values as a district is the value of choice. We know that our families value choice. One of the choices we've had for over 20 years in Waxahachie is our high school of choice. Today we're going to go in and check it out and hear how it is that kids are able to get a high school diploma in a route that may be a little bit unconventional. Hi, Dr. Benskin. Thank you so much for having me today.
Good morning, sir.
We really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come and talk about high school of choice.
And I relish the opportunity because there's a lot people don't know about high school of choice. High school of choice has been around for over 20 years. In the district, I believe it's morphed from primarily a credit recovery to now pretty much a full-on method to assist students, not only at-risk students, because it was primarily geared towards at-risk students, but not only at-risk students, but for just students who may just need that alternative type of style of learning. So it provides them a great way to still have the Waxahachie ISD experience and still come to Waxahachie ISD schools and still gain a valid diploma so they can meet their needs and their future needs.
My name is Ryan Cook. I'm 17 years old, and I found high school of choice through my friends. I think it helped me mostly with skipping. Like, I hated school. I really hated school really bad, but this made it a lot better. I was able to come every day. I haven't missed any school since I've been here.
My name is Linda Green, and this is my grandson, Gregory Green. Tomorrow will be his first day at high school of choice. I didn't know anything about it till about a month ago myself, and I've lived in Waxahachie my whole life, so we're excited about the process, and we're excited about Gregory coming here.
So some people have confused this program with our discipline alternative education program. Two very different programs.
Night and day.
Yeah.
They are located in the same building, but they are very much separate.
When you think about teachers and the connections that they're able to make with kids, what allows that to happen?
The more intimate environment. It really is probably a 15 to 20 to 1.
I'm Brittany Navarro. I'm a teacher here at High School of Choice. One of the neatest things is to be able to see a student who maybe wasn't successful at the high school and in all honesty may have been written off by a lot of teachers, to see them come here and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, you're really smart. This gives them an opportunity to just focus on themselves and their academics and their goals and what's next for them.
My name is Jackie Taylor, so I set goals for them daily. I want them to see just how much progress they are making and how successful they are and how much they have in them to really do what it takes to, to be successful.
Well, we're just so grateful for you, for your team, and what y'all are able to do with kids. And I love the fact that we've been living out that core value of choice right here for a long time.
Well, thank you. And it is definitely a team effort.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's just good to see kids come in and they believe in themselves. And I'm glad I'm a part of that process.
Board, finally this evening, I'd like to invite Dr. Dustin Binnicker to come up.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Hollingsworth. I couldn't pick just one person. There are so many great people in my department that I had a real difficult time, and so I asked for forgiveness instead of permission, and I told Mrs. Bridges I'm going to nominate two people. So tonight, I want to recognize Ashley Sierra and Barb Mikulaki as the Points of Light Award. So if you two ladies would come up here, and I saw you come in. There you are. So Ashley and Barb are being recognized tonight for their creative, innovative, and brilliant ideas that spread like stars throughout the district. They collaborate with our district leaders and staff to aid them in implementing innovative teaching practices and tools into our instructional programming pre-K through 12th grade. They coordinate with our technology department to develop short-term and long-term plans for tech integration into the classroom and then ways to train our staff on this new technology once we get it. They also implement and coordinate professional learning across the district and partner with district leaders and directors to plan and execute district-level events that showcase our district's core values. And you'll hear more about those great things in just a few minutes. So thank you all so much. right, so the Teaching, Learning, and Innovation Department, formerly Curriculum Instruction, is made up of several groups here. So I'm going to go through some of the groups that are a part of this department, and these two ladies are just a small piece of it. So last month, we had the opportunity to present to WISD 101, and so I've got 47 slides tonight for you. I had that originally, and Dr. H said you have 3 minutes, so I cut it down to about 8 slides. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly here. I just wanted to brag on some of the great things that these two young ladies are doing kind of behind the scenes. A lot of the work that they do is not out there in front of the classrooms, in front of our teachers, but they do a lot of work with our teachers to make sure that they're prepared for our students as they come into the classroom. So they work heavily before the school year starts to make sure that all of our students are enrolled in our ClassLink program so that when they get onto their computers, their devices, everything is set up and they've got seamless integration with any of the digital resources they use in the classroom. They do the same thing for our teaching staff. So any of the programs that we use as we log into our computers, they're behind the scenes making sure that everything is seamless. They can get into those programs without a hiccup. So they are part of the Innovation and Digital Learning program, or department, excuse me. And one of the big things that they're on for the next couple of months, coming up January 5th and 6th, is something called iNation. So this has been a one-day conference-style session that we've done here in the district. This year, we're shifting, we're making it 2 days. We've heard such great feedback from our teaching staff last year. They wanted more of it. So we're going to do this on January 5th and 6th. So it's a 2-day conference-style professional learning event driven by our core value of choice. So one of the things that I think is so great about this conference-style presentation is a lot of the presenters is our own teaching staff. One of the greatest ways to learn what's happening in your district is to go next door into the classroom beside you and pick up some of those great things and bring it back into your class. We're really excited that we're going to have 2 keynote speakers at these 2 days, and then over 130 sessions each day that our teaching staff can choose from. Another really cool thing that these ladies are doing is the Innovative Teaching Coalition. So last year, they kicked this idea around, and then they put an application out, and they solicited input from principals, campus leaders, and they had probably 40 people that applied for this, if not more, and they had a really difficult time narrowing it down to 24 teachers. So some of the things that these teachers get to work on with these young ladies is working on Google certification. So there's a Google Level 1 and Level 2 certification that they're going to go throughout this school year, and they really focus on the WISD core values and then the 4 C's of creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So one of the pictures, I think it's coming up here in a minute, I'll actually show you. They went out and they meet once a month, and they call it Caffeinate and Innovate. So I'll show you that picture here in a second. They went after school one day, had their meeting, and then they had to rush down to the Christmas parade because it happened on the same day. So I don't know how they do all the things they do. They're really fast about it. Like I talked about it a minute ago, tech integration. So when our kids come into their classroom, they don't have to log in multiple times to get into the programs they use in the classroom. They log in one time. Behind the scenes, a lot of work is done to make sure that the rosters are all set up and the students can log in and get to their digital textbooks or any of the other curriculum resources we use that are digitally based. I think one of the biggest things, being a student nowadays using technology is that they're not just using it to consume information. They're actually creating, publishing, creating information, creating content on these devices that we use. Innovative teaching, I talked about this just a second ago. The date is wrong on here, but I just wanted to show you, they went after school, taught all day, work with these people after school. They get together, they share ideas, they talk about the great things that they're doing in the classrooms, ways to share this across the district, and then went to the Christmas parade. So it was a busy day for them. We know the days leading up to Christmas, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun, a lot of festivity that's happening in our classrooms. They didn't turn away from that. They figured, let's channel that, give our teachers tips and tricks that they can use in the classroom. So I got on here today and I was playing around and I found a Santa tracker. I promise I was working. If IT checks my history log on my computer, it was something that was sent from them, so it's endorsed. I think I'm okay to use it. And then the bottom left picture right there is the group that they worked with. So they come over to our building at least once a month, and then they're meeting in the afternoons, and these teachers have volunteered their time to come over and do this. And so it's a really great thing for these teachers to get to work on. They also get to pilot some of the new devices. So they work with our technology department to find out what devices we're looking at across the district. They push these out to the teachers. They'll let them pick and choose the device they want for the classroom, which really kind of steers what we use as a district. So it's a really cool way for our teachers to have buy-in on what our technology department is going to use for our classrooms across the district. And then my last slide on here, last plug I'm going to give you is for the STEAM Expo that's happening on February 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's our biggest event that we do throughout the district. I don't want to tell you the big plans we've got coming up this year. I'm really excited about some of the sponsors that are coming on board. Hope to see you all there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth.
That concludes our recognitions. We're going to go back to item 6B under reports, which would be our information report on the work of the WISD Long Range Planning Committee plan, as well as a recommendation for a bond proposal for spring 2023. Dr. Hollingsworth?
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Lizzie Johnson to come forward, and she's going to introduce our presenters this evening. We're really, really grateful for the leadership that we have had from Dr. Johnson, and it has been an invaluable process for us, and it's been one that's really allowed us to identify what I believe is going to be a great, sustainable plan for our school district. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Hollingsworth. Board of Trustees, thank you so much for allowing me to support your community and your committee. We had an incredible 6 evenings together and 2 in the spring, so 8 total. And it was just phenomenal. The people that served on this committee did it with their heart for your students. And every decision was made in that perspective. And so I know we have some committee members here tonight. Can we ask them to stand and be recognized? And I do not know how to work this, so how do I go to the next slide? Okay, thanks, Jenny. Okay, and speaking of, I want to bring this lady right here next to me. This work is so logistics. It's all about logistics. It's about organization. It's about making sure the room is correct for the people that are there. It's about dinner. It's about so many things to honor their time. And Jenny did an amazing job keeping all of this running and down the train moving down the tracks. And so I just appreciate you so much. Absolutely. Yes. So at this time, I would like to introduce our 4 committee members who will be doing the presentation tonight. We have LaToya Bryant-Contreras, Dr. Andrew Sambell. We also have Leslie Dean and Jason Bankhead. And so I'm going to ask them to come up in the order that they will be presenting. Thank you. How are you?
All right. Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. So my name is LaToya Bryant-Contreras. I am first a parent. I have been a volunteer for 11 years now. My daughter's a freshman. I will say that I was born and raised in Ennis, so I am a Lion. But my heart switched over to Waxahachie, so let me tell you. So looking around at schools, when my daughter was 3 years old, I had to figure out where I wanted her to go to school at. I looked into Red Oak, looked into Midlothian, looked in my hometown, looked into the smaller schools, and I looked into Waxahachie. And there's a reason why I chose this school district and to stay here as well. And it's just a community. It's the diversity and the equity and the inclusion, and that's what I look for in everything that I do as well. And I found that. I found a school district that actually loves on their kids, that actually listens. You have a community that actually thrives and works with each other, and that is the reason why I chose to stay here. The other thing I am a real estate agent as well, so yes, I do influence people to come here as well because I do think this is one of the greatest districts that there is around. My experience of being on this long-range planning committee, which I didn't even know it existed, okay? Had no idea. And I've been voting for several years here in this district. And I was like, what in the world? Like, why did the bond not pass the last time? Like, how can I get on that? So I asked around and I was like, hey, I want to be on that committee. So it was very humbling to see actually the person that delivered my daughter there. And I'm like, oh, this committee is made up of a lot of different people, you know? So I'm like, hey, Dr. Brown, how are you doing? You know, hey, Pastor, how are you doing? And so that was a big point for me to constantly show up and be here, realizing that there is a diversity there. You have everybody from the parents, grandparents, the WISD staff members that are here, alumni, community leaders, you have business leaders, students, retirees, and other volunteers. And so when you have a group of people like that who have different mind frames, who have different backgrounds, who have different beliefs, but they all believe in actually helping our students, and they all believe in one goal, and that's getting this district to where it needs to be, that's something that I would love to be a part of. So that's all that I have. Thank you.
President Autry, Dr. Hollingsworth, members of the school board and staff, it's an honor to be here representing the LRPC tonight. My name is Drew Sambell. I have resided in the school district since 1996. I have a son who was the class of 2022 and a daughter that's a junior at the high school. The LRPC first met back in February of this year. At our first meeting and every meeting thereafter, we were reminded the charge of the LRPC from the Board of Trustees. We were charged with the following. Number one, represent the priorities, the expectations, and values of the community. Number two, consider the needs of all students. Number three, use facts and data to make informed decisions. 4, strive for equality of all facilities. 5, to consider projects to provide a safe and secure environment for students and staff. I will pause and emphasize ongoing school campus violence around this country re-emphasized our charge to provide safety and security for our students. 6, recommend a program that meets the district's building capacity needs for as long as possible and extends of the life of current buildings where possible. And finally, understand the district's finances to develop short-term and long-term goals that are fiscally sound. We had a total of 8 meetings as a group. We learned extensively about the district during these meetings, everything from district finance to demographic projections to campus tours. From everything we learned, we developed a 17,000 plus student plan for the board to consider. In closing, I'd like to express appreciation to the school board for being supportive of the LRPC process. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I am Leslie Dean, and I'm a 1992 alum from Waxahachie High School. I also have 2 recent graduates for my kids in 2018 and 2020, Waxahachie High School graduates, and numerous family members who also graduated from these Waxahachie High School. And in fact, I've had family members that have served WISD since the 1940s. And so it was an honor and a privilege to even be asked to be a part of this group. And I'm also an empty nester taxpayer in the city of Waxahachie. And being raised a Felty grandkid meant that education was something that our community invests in the hope of our future generations. And our society has made it everyone's right to have access to it. So my professional life as an executive director of the Ellis County Children's Advocacy Center, my role there, we see children every day where school is the safe haven. It is the safe place. Children who desperately need access to equitable education, they need a safe learning environment, and they need to have their individual needs met. As many of our governmental entities across the county I come in contact with, we are all seeking ways to meet the capacity and demands of our growing community. And so that's why I wanted to be a part of this committee, is because I wanted to be a part of learning what the problems were, how do we solve them, how can I be a part of the solution. My experience with the LRPC is it's been enlightening to see, we throw the word growth around, but what does that really mean to Waxahachie, the city of Waxahachie? Where's the growth happening? How is it going to affect individual campuses? What do we need to do about that? And you can see on the board our capacity needs over the next 10 years, but it's kind of broken down in the next 1 to 2, 3 to 5, and then 10 years from now. You can see the growth of our schools and when we meet the capacity of those. I learned more about school finance and bonds than I ever thought I could. And that was really stretching it for a social worker, because we do fuzzy math. And also, it's reinforced me that as we prepare for the future of WISD, we must not think of a 10-year plan. We got to think of how are we going to meet the needs of 17,000 plus students. So that's what kind of plan we're going to put before you today. It's a 17,000 plus student plan. I love this focus on students because it's not just building buildings. It is a comprehensive plan that builds upon itself to maximize the current facilities that we already have, use those to their full capacity, keep them in good shape, but then also building as our population grows and as our needs change. So, yes, thank you. So what is the plan? In general, and we'll get into more specifics about dollar amounts in the future, but on phase 1, we have a new Wildman STEAM Academy building and 2 new neighborhood elementary schools with a capacity of 800 students. Next in phase 1 is an expansion of our junior highs. So the expansion of the Hancock building to 1,200 students to house Coleman, and then expansion of Finley and Howard to 1,200 students. And then the next thing is the construction of a second 3,200 student capacity comprehensive high school. Next on phase 1 is facility upgrades throughout the district to promote equity of campuses and preparation of Lumpkin Stadium to house athletic programs of 2 high schools. And then we move on to phase 2. Phase 2 is 2 neighborhood elementary schools, each with a capacity of 800 students, and a new junior high building with a capacity of 1,200 students. And I would just like to say that you can see the projects. They meet the population and capacity projections in year 1, year 3, year 10. But remember, our focus is on the number of children and meeting their needs and not just a time frame. So I'm going to pass it on to Jason, who's going to share with you the full recommendations of the LRPC. And I just thank you for the opportunity to have a voice in this process.
Good evening, board. Thank you for serving. Dr. Hollingsworth, thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Jason Bankhead. I've been a resident of Waxahachie for 13 years. I have a junior at the high school, a freshman at the high school, and a 3rd grader that we didn't know was going to be in WISD, but surprised us a little bit. But he is at Shackelford, so I've now had a kid at Shackelford for, I don't know, 11, 12 years, and hopefully he'll be done in a couple years there. We moved here 13 years ago, and one of the biggest things, the most difficult things are where we moved from. We moved from a really small community about 40 miles north of Dallas that has changed significantly, and one of the things we loved so much about that community were the schools. And one of the greatest points of anxiety was what we did not know about WISD and moving here. We had a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and they were going to be starting school pretty soon, and that was probably the most anxious thing that we had. That has been solved by our kids being in WISD. It has been an incredible blessing to our family, teachers, mentors, the school system that backs them. It has been an incredible experience for our kids. It has kind of driven in me a passion for WISD and being a cheerleader for WISD and trying to promote it to others because of the experience. And I think a lot of it comes down to the teachers who are face-to-face with our kids. And it's been such an incredible experience for my kids. But it's developed a passion in me. I've been honored to be a part of this long-range planning committee. I've loved the process of it. I think it was very thorough. I love the people who were on it from all walks of life. One of the things I appreciated probably the most was the amount of discussion had at tables of throwing ideas around, people coming from completely different backgrounds, perspectives. Some, those have been spoken about a little bit prior to me, but all working together and talking through things to try to come to a consensus that we could all get on board with. And I'm excited to present that this evening. We were charged in late February with coming together with a plan, not with a group of buildings, but with a plan of how do we get 10 years down the road. How do we, which has to a degree, change to 17,000 students, because 10 years, it may be 8 years, 9 years before we get to 17,000 students. But what we have tried to do is to come up with a plan that will allow us as a district to take care of 17,000 students. So we'll begin to walk through just a little bit of the phases let me get to my slides here too, on paper. There we go. Look at that. Okay, technology. Okay, so this is kind of a timeline of this. Would be an opening in August of 24th, the new Wildman STEAM Academy, which would house 800, be able to house 800 students. Elementary number 10, and Global High School moving permanently back to the Wildman building. The expansion of Hancock to become Coleman to 1,200 student capacity middle school or junior high. And then moving 9th grade to buy some time. So this would be temporary, but having a 9th grade at Coleman until a new comprehensive high school is built. One of the things I do want to point out, even before this, one of the things that probably stood out to me the most in our meetings was a tour. We were able to tour, I think, 5 or 6 different campuses. A lot of things are thrown out around misuse of buildings and misuse of these things at districts kind of all over the place. But one thing I walked away from that being incredibly proud of how WISD has kept their buildings up, has made them really great learning environments, and has used what we have. The very best of the ability to try to use what we already have, as opposed to just going out trying to build big and new, but to utilize what we have first before, and those are parts of this plan as well, as you can see with Hancock Building and Global. So that'll be phase 1 to be hopefully completed by August of 24. Phase 2 would be bottom right. There we go. Did I do it? No. Boy, there we go. Renovations at Findlay and Howard to expand each campus to 1,200 student capacity. Elementary number 11 to open at 800 capacity. And then facility upgrades throughout the district to promote equality of campuses ongoing. And a lot of the expansion of Findlay and Howard, some of it has to do with core areas, some of it classrooms, but most of those, it is an expansion of core that's probably too small to hold 1,200 students, but to get those to a place to where they can. So that by August of 2025, and by August of 2027, a comprehensive high school number 2, that can house 3,200 students, preparing Lumpkins for a second high school, completing a locker room there and a few other things with fields, and then upgrades throughout the district. Those things to be accomplished by August of 2027. I will say there were 2 things that were discussed at each table of a phase 1 and phase 2 of a new high school at 2 different times. There were 42 voting people. 42 said no to 2 phases of a new comprehensive high school, and 41 of the 42 said we absolutely believe it needs to be done at the same time. A lot of that from a cost evaluation of right now. If we push that phase off, I think right now the numbers will show it would be about $70 million to come back and do the second phase. If we look at, you guys know the prices of a high school 5 years ago was $120 million, somewhere around there, and that same high school is projected to be similar, $300 million, over $300 million. So not coming back, and that price, what was $70 million, may become $150 million because we didn't do it. So those were some of the discussions had around the tables. There's a little bit better outline of those. Here are the price points from one of the architect. They did build into this kind of the rate of inflation and kind of construction costs. They tried to do the very best they could to build into what these things would be within those timelines. But you can see each of those there. For the recommendations of the Long Range Planning Committee. I don't know that I need to read it to you. You can take a look of those things. The total committee recommendations would be $576,670,154. And that's a lot of money. I understand that, and we know that. I think part of what was discussed around the tables was what does that become? It's people are coming, and what does that become in a year or two if we kick it down the road some? And so overwhelmingly, that is what the committee voted. So we would like to recommend, on behalf of the Long-Range Planning, Facilities Planning Committee, we'd like to recommend the board call a bond election for that amount on May 6th of 2023.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bankhead, and the rest of the committee.
At this time, if there's any questions, we can open the floor for any board members who have questions.
Go ahead, Mr. McCutcheon.
In looking at the two separate phases, is there a trigger or something that would, like a number maybe of students that would push phase two to come, or how is that going to be determined timeline?
Yeah, so what you saw, and I'll just take you back to that particular slide so you can see what Mr. McCutcheon is asking about. For the 17,000 plus student plan, okay, and when we started this discussion, we were talking about a 10-year plan. Well, we refer to it as a 17,000 plus student plan, and it was stated, and that's accurate, that sometimes growth happens faster. So we could hit 17,000 plus students in 8 years. We could hit that in 12 years. It's an inexact science. However, in about 10 years, we know we're going to have over 17,000 kids. So the plan here is clearly to do phase one, which is what you see in that bond proposal. Phase two is what will remain. And so what we would do is we would come back in about 5 years. We'll have to come back to finish this 17,000 plus student plan. So I want to be very open about that. We'll have to come back for another bond to be able to complete phase two with 2 more elementary schools and a 4th junior high school. And so that's what would trigger that, is just the completion of that. And then we believe at that point our enrollment will require us to finish out that plan. Yes, sir.
First of all, Lizzie and Leslie and Ms. Contreras and Jason, Dr. Sambell, thank y'all, and all the other committee members that are here in attendance. I want to start by first thanking each and every one of you. I know it was a long process and a rewarding process, and we just can't thank you enough for all the time, and hopefully you got a few good dinners out of it, and we just appreciate you very much. So.
Anyone else? I know there's got to be more.
Yeah, I was curious also.
Okay.
I'm assuming we had representatives from Global on the committee, and what was their pulse about moving back to Wyoming?
Well, I know that I'm looking at Andrew White. I can see him right there back in the back. I didn't know I was going to call you out, Andrew, but I know that we had representation from Global, and we have had a lot. I mean, Global parents are like any other group of parents. I think you might find some mixed opinions, but generally speaking, my conversations with folks, anecdotally, I will tell you, is that there's a lot of interest. A lot of folks didn't ever want to leave that building in the first place. And so I will also tell you, Mr. Rogers, that the early college high school model is really best suited for a model that does not exceed more than about 600 kids. And so being in a building that houses between 400 and 500 kids is really a sweet spot for the early college high school model.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm just curious, were there any surprises about where growth is in certain areas, and can you just speak to maybe some approximate locations of schools?
Yes, ma'am. What I will tell you is I think just having lots and lots of conversations, not only with our LRPC members, but also having shared our story of our growth to all 16 campuses and all of our departments, people are generally surprised at the level of growth that we're seeing. Y'all aren't, because I remember a year and a half ago interviewing with you, I remember how much all of you talked about growth. But I will tell you, it is a surprise for people when you talk to them about it. The number one thing that people are surprised about is they did not realize how large our school district is. The number one thing people are surprised about is that Waxahachie ISD is about 4 times larger than the city of Waxahachie. And that's one of those things that people, I think, really were surprised by.
I think one thing you need to point out is that we already have a location for the high school.
Yes, sir.
That's important for the public to know that we do already have that location.
Yes, sir. In that phase 2, where you see that 4th junior high school that would come in the late 20s, that one, there's land for that on that same site. You have about 174 acres set aside for a 4th junior high school and your 2nd comprehensive high school. So that's really good planning on the part of the board.
Already paid.
Already paid for, yes, sir.
I just want to again thank everybody for their time. I know time is precious, but it's so very important that you took part in this committee. And I just want to thank you, because from the bottom of my heart, because it really, I can't imagine the responsibility that you brought to us. So thank you.
I want to echo that too. Thank everyone who served. I was well aware of when every meeting date was, and I kept thinking about that group and like wanting to show up and see what they were all talking about. So anyway, I know I came to one meeting and I was trying to listen, but anyway, I just appreciate all of you. I appreciate the professionalism, and we had a good group, a good mix, and I, for one, am not going to take lightly the information that you presented to us. I appreciate it.
Well, I know that was echoed. Dr. Sambell remarked on that. The LRPC particularly appreciated your clear charge to them and what it is that you asked them to do. And they took that very, very seriously. That came up several times in conversation.
Anyone else?
I also wanted to thank everyone for all your hard work and all the time that you spent. It's an excellent plan, so thank you very much.
Anyone else? All right, so I'll make the final comment. First of all, I know what you've been through. I've participated in LRPC before. I know it requires a lot of time, energy, and effort, and that time, energy, and effort will not go unnoticed. And it's our job as a board of 7, plus administration, to take your recommendation, and we are going to work diligently together over the next 60 days or so to take the information and the suggestions that you've given us. And it is our job to dissect that information and formulate a plan to come back and formally call for a bond by the 3rd week of February, I believe, is the deadline. So I greatly appreciate that. Now the work shifts on us, and I don't believe that any of us up here is going to take that lightly, and we very much appreciate everyone's effort. Thank you guys very much. Okay, our last report of the night, our informational report on the WISD Balanced Scorecard Priority 4. Mr. Calden?
Hello again, Board. Tonight, we're going to do Balanced Scorecard Priority 4, Financial Integrity. I'm going to try really hard to live up to Dr. Averett, but he is only a phone call away if I go off the rails too terribly badly. Priority 4 is financial integrity. Our 3 performance objectives are ensure financial stewardship and transparency, develop and deploy coherent facilities management processes to address student growth, and ensure effective and efficient operations with transparency. Our key strategic actions, 4.1, are to create adopted budget to actual expenditure quarterly comparisons, enhance clarity and transparency regarding the budget development process, update and deploy annual budget development calendar, and develop and deploy a 10-year expenditure projection plan. Our long-term desired outcomes, our campuses and departments will utilize at least 75% of allotted discretionary funds by the end of April annually. District will achieve a debt transparency star by the end of the 22-23 school year. Budget development calendar will be presented to the board at the January or February meeting annually, and the expenditure projection plan will be a live document by the end of the 23-24 school year. Just kind of an update of where we are on current progress with that. We have calculated and distributed the budget utilization report for the first quarter of 22-23. That was done just recently through the end of November, I believe. We have submitted the debt transparency star application that was done back in June. It has gone through multiple levels of review, and we are waiting on final sign-off and approval of that transparency star. We could add that to our traditional finances star that we already have earned from the comptroller's office. And we started working on developing an expenditure projection plan with our maintenance and child nutrition and technology departments. So kind of wanted to go through a little bit of what an expenditure projection plan is, and you have some copies of this on your dais because it is a little bit easier to read in paper, but in general, it is a working plan to help us each fiscal year identify and prepare for all of the upcoming expenditures of the district. So you'll see that it's broken out by different departments. Some are instructional, some are athletics, some are maintenance and operations, transportation, fine arts. And so there's a lot of zeros on the plan right now because we're just getting started working with our maintenance and support services departments to try to identify those needs, those financial needs that are going to be coming up over the next 10 plus years. Some of these things are going to be one-time expenditures, such as replacement of building components, roofs, floors, lighting systems. Some of them will be large one-time purchases like buses or white fleet vehicles. But these obligations can and will include additional staff for opening new campuses and or the purchases and or other shifts in mandated instruction or requirements as promulgated by the state of Texas every time the legislature meets. Wanted to give you a little bit of a closer look. This is the working sheet for the maintenance department. So it's the expenditure projection plan is very detailed and involves input from many different sources. Some of the information that will ultimately be on the EPP has already been obtained from various departments such as maintenance, technology, and athletics. Some information is currently unknown, but as it is quantified, it gets added to the EPP. Once we have a more comprehensive draft, we will post it as a living document to allow for transparent review of all interested parties and as a planning expenditure projection document for the district so that we can look at every year coming up. And as resources are saved in one fiscal year, we know what our plan is to start addressing where those are going to be best utilized going forward. So there will be a different sheet for each of those areas that we had on the original, on that totals page of the EPP. The next one in this slide deck would be the transportation department. It built in a cost calculator. So we can put in a cost of a school bus today, and then we can turn around and show what does a 5% increase in cost look like annually? What does a 7% increase look like annually? It allows us to better go through and look at where we'll need to add additional bus routes as we open new campuses. It'll help us with the staffing side of that. How many additional drivers are we going to need to go with the equipment that we're going to need to run students to and from campuses? So it's a very long process to go through and gather all this information, but one that should be very fruitful once we have it actually up and running. On to performance objective 4.2, our long-term desired outcomes. The LRPC will make recommendations to the board regarding facility needs by February of 2023. Demographic updates will increase from annual to quarterly by September of 2022. And upon successful voter approval of bond propositions, a bond oversight committee will be established. So progress updates. Tonight, the LRPC gave you their recommended plan after having 8 meetings that started in the spring. And we have updated our quarterly demographic receipt from annually to quarterly. We just received our first quarterly report for this school year. And the numbers are right on target with what we had received in the spring, the last time we had an update. They're a little bit slower by about 0.2% annually going forward for the next 10 years, but pretty much in line with what we had originally received. And we are working to identify community members that could potentially serve on a bond oversight committee. At the time of a bond calling, we expect to have some of those names and look forward to giving you the names of those committee members at that time. On key strategic actions for 4.3 are to develop a key work processes, also to develop budget skills for all budget managers, and implement a financial health systems check. We anticipate to start on the financial health systems check in the spring of this coming year. Our long-term desired outcomes are we will achieve 95% satisfaction rating from internal users by the end of 2024. The business office will develop and present basic governmental finance and budget trainings for all staff by the end of the 22-23 school year, and we will complete the financial health systems check by the summer of 2023. Current progress, we are not as far along in some of these items as we've been working on the EPP and the LRPC committee meetings and recommendations, but they are still on our list of things that we're going to be accomplishing. We are working to develop a catalog of financial trainings for our non-business staff. We expect to have the financial audit for the fiscal year ending August 31, 2022 for you in January, so at our next meeting. We have not developed the survey yet to measure internal satisfaction, and we have not begun working on our health systems check, but we will start working on that coming this spring as we roll into the 23-24 school year. With that, the next steps would be circling back around and doing priority 1, specifically focusing on student growth and taper reports at our next meeting in January in the spring of 2023. With that, are there any questions related to financial integrity, balanced scorecard priority 4 that I can answer for you?
Questions for Mr. Colton? Anyone?
I would just like to comment, thank you, Ryan, for your hard work on that. That expenditure projection plan is really cool because what it does is it puts a system on the big things that principals and department leaders ask for and want. Things like a roof, we're just replacing the roof at Marvin. In the future, that roof would be on the expenditure projection plan. And it incentivizes the organization to be more frugal with the money at the end of the year, because as departments don't spend money, as campuses do not spend money that's budgeted at the end of the year, that is funneled then toward the accomplishment of that expenditure projection plan. So it's really a cool thing. So good stuff.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next item is our consent agenda. We have items A through H. As you're well aware, we can take these all in one motion, or if there's one that needs to be removed for individual consideration, however you would like to proceed.
I move that we approve consent agenda items A through H.
Have a motion by Ms. Starnader.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rogers. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving to action item A, consideration to approve the proposed staging area agreement with Spring Valley Construction Company to support the expansion of HEB near Global High School as presented.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board, Dr. Hollingsworth. This evening, you have the opportunity to take action upon the proposed lease agreement that was been presented to us by Spring Valley Construction Company and HEB. At your last meeting in November, you had representatives of HEB and Spring Valley Construction present a proposal to you to use a portion of the land that's behind Global High School that's adjacent to HEB. The use we've analyzed, we don't believe will take away from any function of the district. In fact, the use by Spring Valley Construction actually will be a benefit to the district. Construction trade students will have the opportunity while the land is being used to come see and have some educational opportunities to watch a construction site in the works for 15 to 17 months. The Spring Valley Construction will pay the district $2,000 a month to use the land, and at the end of that 15 to 17 month period, will either restore the land to its original condition, or allow the district to make use of the construction site should it be in the district's interest to do so. Truly, it'll be the district's option. The Spring Valley Construction has provided the district adequate proof of insurance and an agreement that it would indemnify the district should anything go wrong at the site. And tonight, administration urges approval of the lease agreement as presented.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Alvin? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item A as presented. Motion by Mr.
So moved.
Schofield. Ms. Timmerman, Mr. Schofield beat you to the motion. Would you want a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Schofield, second by Ms. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, action item B, consideration to approve to approve the use of child care relief funds from the Texas Workforce Commission to provide 2 retention stipends to child care workers and provide forgiveness of child care costs at Little Chiefs Academy for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year. Mr. Alvin, you again?
Yes, sir. This is a neat opportunity, an unprecedented opportunity for the board to take action to bring benefit to the parents who have kids at Little Chiefs Academy and for the staff at Little Chiefs Academy. Little Chiefs Academy is not funded by taxpayer dollars. It's funded truly by the fees paid each month by employees who have their kids at the center. It runs on a franchise account. The Texas Workforce Commission has approved child care relief funds this year to do a lot of things, to help improve child care centers and to provide financial relief to those who utilize those centers and relief to those who work in the centers. The district has received hundreds of thousands of dollars this year from the Workforce Commission, these child care relief funds, and the district has applied them throughout the year for improvements at the center for everything it can do. And that's been in the form of furniture improvements and upgrades, appliance improvements and upgrades, and devices in the center. Now, it gets to analyze one of the other areas of relief that's a priority for the state, and that is true financial relief for parents who utilize child care centers and the employees that work there. And so tonight, we ask that the board approve the use of the child care relief funds for the purpose of providing 2 stipends. One this month in December for all of our employees who are presently there, $500 one-time stipend for all employees of Little Chiefs Academy. A second stipend, a retention stipend in the amount of $750 for all employees that work during the spring up to May 26th, our last day of school. So we ask for approval for those 2 stipends. And then the even bigger package, we ask that the board approve the use of these funds to forgive all payments for the remainder of this school year for those employees who have kids at Little Chiefs Academy. There's ample funds from the Workforce Commission to make this occur. Won't touch the overwhelmingly substantial fund balance of the center. We don't anticipate that we'll get these funds again, so we do believe that our employees who keep kids in the center will have to, again, start paying their monthly fees in September of 2023 if they keep their kids in the center. But from December through the month of August, we will be able to fund the center with the funds from the Workforce Commission without any monthly payments from our employees.
Questions for Mr. Alvin? Okay, I entertain a motion to approve action item B as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kriegel, do I have a second by Mr. McCutcheon? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Timmerman, can you hear us?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed say nay.
Aye, aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
President.
our last action item is consideration to approve the action to amend the date of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Trustees from Monday, January 9th, 2023 to Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Dr. Hollingsworth?
Mr. President, as you know, we have had a board workshop that we've had planned for Wednesday, the 18th. What we're asking is to combine the regular meeting and that workshop date into one, and to accomplish that on Tuesday, January the 17th. This will be very helpful to staff in preparation for the meeting as well.
Any other questions? Okay, I entertain a motion to approve action item C as presented.
So moved.
I got a motion by Ms. Timmerman, second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Next, moving on to number 9 would be comments from individual board members. At this time, board members will be able to comment on items of community interest, including expressions of thanks, congratulations, or condolence, information regarding holiday schedules, recognition of a public official, public employee, or other citizen, that reminders about upcoming district events. If I don't have any objection, I would kind of like to just start at one end and work our way down. If anyone has a problem with that. Can you hear me, Ms. Timmerman?
I can.
Okay, if you would like to, I would normally start to my left and you would be to the far left. So if you would like to have a comment or anything, I'm going to start with you.
I do. I would like to thank one of our city council members, Chris Wright. I was listening to a city council meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was right before November the 30th, when Dr. Hollingsworth had that forum to inform people about our growth. Well, the city council had a meeting scheduled for that same night, and they voted that night to change it so that it wouldn't be a conflict. So I thought that was an excellent example of how the city and the school district works together. So I wanted to thank Chris Wright.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCutcheon?
Yeah, I did ask a question earlier in regards to the LRPC plan, but neglected to thank those folks. So I want to echo everybody's comments from earlier and thank them for the time that they put in on everything. And it's definitely exciting times coming in the next 10, 15 years. Thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I know that the LRPC is done with their part, and it's largely in our court now to make our decisions and to decide on the direction we want to go. But I really, up to this point at least, I don't know what else we can do. We've come up with a plan for the foreseeable future. I think the musical chairs with our schools is a common thing, but I think that we're utilizing our buildings to our best potential, and we have a monumental task, and it's going to take all of us to get behind this thing, because all of these efforts are futile if we don't get people to vote. And that's, you know, we really, we can present the issues and we can present the solutions, but at the end of the day, it's gonna hinge on whether or not the voters vote for it. And so we have to get behind this thing and really show up at the polls and really push our message. What do we want to be as Hatchie? I mean, our kids deserve adequate facilities, and I think we've proven over the years, over hundreds of years, that we take care of our buildings and that we utilize them as long as we can, keep them in great shape. So, I mean, I really don't know what else we can do. As far as, there are going to be naysayers, obviously. It's an enormous amount of money, and people are going to have sticker shock. We all know that. But I think with all the explanation, all the detail, in my humble opinion, it's got to be done in propositions. Whether or not how we do that, it's going to be, you know, determined in our future discussions. But I think people want to be able to choose. We could break it up all day long, but at the end of the day, people can add. They know what the bottom number is going to be. So those are just some of my comments about LRPC.
Ms. Kriegel?
Well, on a lighter note, I wanted to take this opportunity to invite everybody to come to the Christmas party on Wednesday. We have had it for a few years now, and it is a great Waxahachie tradition. And if you haven't been, please come. And I want to commend Jenny and her team because they always do a great job of putting on a great party. So y'all come to the Christmas party, all of the staff, not everybody in Waxahachie, but all staff, on Wednesday. All Waxahachie ISD staff is invited. So thank you.
Mr. Schofield?
I just want to say I appreciate the time everybody put in on this. I'm short, sweet, to the point, as most of y'all already know. I don't like to talk a whole lot. The financial ramifications of this bond are huge. Trust me, I'm as tight as they come. Go out and look at my truck, 240,000 miles, 7 years, and I'm still driving it because it still works. But we have to make plans for the future because failure to plan is a plan. So we'll see where this leads us.
All right, I want to thank everyone for their attendance tonight, and those listening online. This is the last time we will meet before Christmas, so I just want to close and tell everyone, hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. Oh, I'm sorry, you got something else? I'm sorry.
I didn't get a chance.
Oh, did I skip over you? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Turn your microphone on.
It's okay. Okay, I want to again thank the LRPC. I really appreciated the High School of Choice presentation tonight. That was very, very enlightening, I think, for a lot of people. And also, I just want to say, in regards to the growth and everything, I mean, people aren't just coming to Waxahachie, people are coming to Texas, period. I mean, this is not a problem that is unique to Waxahachie. This is something that, especially in the Metroplex area, I mean, everybody's facing massive growth. So I hope that our community will keep that in mind when we're trying to do what's best for our kids. And then also I wanted to thank Dr. Hollingsworth. You've been here for 16 short months, and I really appreciate your efforts to come in and set up processes to help make us more transparent, to involve our staff, finding out what they want. I mean, like the presentation you gave earlier where staff mentioned, you know, what do we need to keep doing? What do we need to quit doing? I mean, that's awesome that we're talking about that in a board meeting. And you truly understand that leadership is about good relationships. I truly believe that, and appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kriegel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rogers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Motion carries.